Wow, I just need to make this jump and I'll finally get the treasure. Ugh. Well, guess that's the end for me. Level design makes or breaks a game. If the world isn't interesting to explore, players will just rush to reach the end. They need to be puzzling with branching paths, and you should be forced to backtrack a little. But they can't be too puzzling so the player doesn't just give up. Games like Cave Story capture this perfectly, with intricately designed levels to make you explore. A game like Borderlands has an immersive world that feels lived in and perfect for exploring. Even Minecraft, well, that wasn't really exactly designed, and sometimes, you know what? Never mind. The world I've built for my game kinda sucks. It's super linear and has nowhere to explore. But hey, it was made in a day. But why is it actually bad? Well, not only is it a direct ripoff of Mario 1-1, but it's also super flat. And if we're making a Metroidvania, we want to give it some more form. Also, in the world, you can only really go in one direction. You can't go back to areas you were in, so there's literally no room to explore. What we need to do first is build out the general idea of our whole world. So I made some areas and how they connect. This is a super rough sketch, but it gives me an idea of what the journey of the player will actually be, and gives me an idea of the actual scope, which at the moment I'm keeping small, so I know I can get the game done within a reasonable time frame and hopefully pitch it to publishers to make it longer with actual funding. This week I wanted to just get the rough idea of the first little journey our player will go on, going up to the wizard, getting his kids and going out into the forest, which will break down into smaller steps for the player to go do. Now we just need to draw up our little hometown, and well, we could just draw it all up in Photoshop or something, but instead we could also just put down blocks of color because you know, I think that's the way to do it. Don't you? Yeah, I thought so. Wow, look at this world. It feels really similar to Cave Story. Maybe a little too similar. So I might need to change it up. But what else does a world need before we ship it off? Collisions. I've made it so you can jump onto the roofs of houses and jump up these little rock thingies that conveniently stick out of the cliff, which is all just one-way colliders and super simple. I might replace these with a ladder or something when I actually finally add it in art, but that's a future problem. And that's it. It still needs actual working buildings, a camera system, a bunch of doors, and a background. I've just chucked in some temporary doors which will reload the scene while I work on making the insides of buildings, and this is really just the first area of our whole big world. I'll probably continue to optimize it and make it a little sillier, but for now it works as a jumping off point while we work on some more systems. But one last thing I wanted to work on this week was implementing a better dialogue system. As some of you pointed out a few weeks ago, there are a bunch that you can easily just set up, and that are definitely better for my needs than what I've made. The first one I wanted to try was this dialogue manager for Godot 4. I've never really had to use Godot plugins before, but thankfully there was a really useful tutorial from the creator. And I could set up something basic that was already a million times better than what I had. You could even choose your own responses. It needs a bit of customizing, but for now, it works. And that's it for this week. I didn't get too much done because I'm in the middle of exams and I've just been studying. Next week, I'll probably work on cameras, doors, and the forest. So stay tuned and subscribe to see the progress.